get this thing started. Okay. Yeah. If,
Okay.
Commissioner, if you want to start walking through, your department and the budget.
Absolutely. So, Julie LaFave, Commissioner of Parks and Recreation. And with me is Jimmy Oliver, Deputy Commissioner of Parks and Recreation. So we're here to present the proposed budget for next year. And on this call also are a number of our bureau chiefs, so that if you guys ask a question that is specific that Jimmy and I don't feel comfortable that we can handle it, or that we can't give us quite specific information that we are going to ask some of our staff who are on the call to address that. But you have in front of you our proposed budget. We have remained pretty flat. There are no staff increases outside of those that are tied to any union contracts. One of the major increases we had this year, which still I think is relatively low considering how many at locations, but our mowing has gone up by $45,000, but that is also taking into consideration that we've added 20 some locations, including the Creek Walk, which is quite large. So I think compared to the number of locations that have been added,
Cool.
Sorry, I don't know if somebody's talking.
Can only have one sheet of paper.
Got on mute if you're not on mute.
Also, you'll notice, and this was just talked about in the study session before that, dog control, the personnel, the equipment, the uniforms, the vehicle, that has been removed. But the contracts remain in Parks and Recreation. One of the things that we had planned to look forward to this year, changing wise, is looking at the fees of our programs. We would like to take a really close look at all of those. We have a number of fees. Swim lessons, for instance, getting 8 swim lessons for $10. Again, this was before the current pandemic, but those haven't been changed in about 20 years. Same thing for the entry to skate, for golf courses. We're not looking at increasing those prices dramatically, but I think it is time to maybe look at that more closely. Same thing with Clinton Square. One of the things we'd like to look at for revenue-wise is the cost of all of the programs that happen at Clinton Square. There's a lot of city personnel, not just from Parks and Rec, that go into that, but that's something we'd like to look at. And I also, in this next year, like to take a closer look at actually our mowing as a whole and the safety of our playgrounds and maintenance of them as a whole, to see how we can make changes in the future that could have a nice positive impact on our budget, to our credit. So I don't know if you want me to go through department division by division, but we're here to answer any questions, or if there's anything else specifically.
Can I ask a question before we move on?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so you said that you're going to take a look at Clinton Square, right? So I do know that you have people that go in Clinton Square, like Taste of Syracuse and different people, they make a profit.
Yes.
Then you have people that go in Clinton Square, and it's more of a public service event.
Correct.
So there's
Correct.
no money exchange, there's no profit to be made. So do you plan to look at them all the same?
No, we absolutely do not. We realize that some of them are nonprofits and they're raising money for a fundraiser, or like you said, it's a community service or a public service, whereas, like you said, Taste of Syracuse, that's a for-profit business. We would like to put together a proposal that separates the two. So we don't want to put them in the same category.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
So, Commissioner, if I can I have a few little, notes of, when I was going through questions of certain things. At the beginning, Parks Administration and the Personal Services, it appears that salaries increased like, 84,000. And I'm just trying to figure out where that came from.
So you have actually a position that used to be out of our recreation line that was removed from the recreation line. So you'll see that decrease, and that position was added into our admin line, and that is the title of media specialist. So you'll notice that it was at 0 before, and it's now at 1, but that's not a new position. It's a new title, but it's not a new employee. It's the person who's been running our social media and all of our communications. She just was pulled out of recreation and put into admin.
Okay, and then in the equipment for that, the increase, it's like now it's up to 75,000 for operating supplies and expenses. Is that you would mention about the lawn care stuff? Is that where that's now going, or is that?
I I noted that, and I believe that's our new, we have an ancient phone system here. And Anne Marie, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that's the upgrade of our phone system here at Parks and Rec at Spencer Street.
That is correct, Julie.
Is that a one-time expense, or is this going to be like a service fee that we're going to be seeing year in
No,
and year out?
I think it's a one-time purchase of modern equipment.
Agreed.
We are not on the same phone system as City Hall or any of the other buildings.
So Julie, does everyone have their own media specialist in each department?
So the large, not, you mean citywide, each department?
Yes.
No, so my understanding is the larger ones, so I believe it's police, fire, parks, and then citywide. This is the team who, even right now during this pandemic, who has been working night and day to get all the communications out. So it's not just the social media, it's our publications, it's any messaging or any public information that we put out. I think I lost you guys.
Yeah, so, I see that, when you go to the, I mean, it's 218 for us. I assume yours are not numbered like ours, but.
I have a paper.
Okay, so 218, right before we get to dog control and Parks and Rec, when we're going through personal services, one of the areas where we see a large increase is that temporary services for part-time. It's like almost a $200,000 increase. Again, is that where we're seeing the mowing? Because it seems like we've decreased and there's not as many part-time employees that we've had in the past, at least for summer camps and centers in the leagues. But we're still seeing, a large increase in the part-time.
I'm on page 218. Can you tell me again which one you're looking at? Which line?
510300, the temporary services part-time.
So you have, that's, Anne-Marie, again, you can back me up, but this is, you have minimum wage that's continuing to go up. So every time it goes up, we have to increase the minimum wage of our lifeguards, of our rec aides, and that we have a number of employees in the summertime that impacts. So that number actually equals a big number. Anne-Marie, is that a correct assessment?
That is correct, but we did hold them as close to flat as we could. The change goes into effect December 31st of this year. So the increases don't go into effect until that date as well. So we held them flat for the first half of the year, and the increase goes into effect when minimum wage goes into effect.
And if you look, Counselor Kearney, you'll see from fiscal year 19 to 20, you had that similar jump again, and that's because minimum wage, as we all know, goes up every single year. So it's something that we can't really avoid too much. We can't get around too much.
Yeah, so I guess my question then becomes with that, I see that we have fewer people employed for that personal services of, summer playground, senior center, summer camps, summer leagues. There's the positions get cut, almost 20. And is that just simply because of the times that we're in right now with everything going on? Or is that because we're, not able to employ as many people?
So
the
Parks
minimum.
and Recreation for our summer hiring, because that's the majority, that's pretty much where it is. We're a little difficult because they want us to put a number in there, and you'll see, a number of positions in there. I mean, it would be really easy for us to say, in a perfect world, we would have 30 lifeguards work a pool. But in reality, it could be 45 because some of them might only be available 1 or 2 days. So I wouldn't really rely totally on that number of positions for our part-time employees because the number is just, it's our best estimate, but it may be higher, maybe lower. We just focus on that bottom line number.
And, not to, beat a dead horse, I know we already discussed this, but, and I don't know if there's someone here that can speak on it a little bit more, but do we know where we're at with the hiring process of the lifeguards? I know that usually we have to reach out to outside of the city with everything going on. Can you hear me?
Yeah, sorry, I was looking to see if my aquatics director's on the call, and he is.
Yeah, just, where are we at with that? And, are we seeing a higher than normal hiring from outside of the city, or are we just seeing a slower across the board.
So Brent is on that call, and before Brent starts, I will say that the only directive he's been given for a month right now is because he can't really hire new staff. Is he is right now looking at returning staff. But Brent, please feel free to answer the counselor's question about hiring, how it looks for this year.
We've reached out to all the people that previously worked for us, and a good majority of them are coming back. But that's just off of the word that they said they want to come back, and we haven't been able to test out or screen anyone yet.
Do you have a ballpark number of what you think that's, like what that is right now? I mean, I understand you're sort of taking people at their word, but you know, how many, do you know a number of how many people you've spoken to or reached out to that, you know, have said, geez, we do want to come back?
For just off the top of my head, I'd say at least 60, roughly. But we have, hopefully we'll be able to run another class or two before the summer starts. And also when people see and they start talking to their friends, it's usually the people that we couldn't get a hold of, they let their friends know and they can't find a summer job and then they get a hold of us last minute. Let's say about at least 60 right now that we know of.
Okay, all right, thank you. I don't know if any of the other counselors have questions.
I do. Brent, for the positions that you remain to be filled, what's your process? Do you, how do you communicate that so that everybody has a fair chance to apply?
We'll post up our test out dates on our website and also on our Syracuse Rec Desk site. And that basically whenever we're open, we'll have walk-ins welcome to come in and test out. We require a swim test before we actually offer them the job position. So they have to have a minimum swimming requirements on top of their certifications.
I lost audio again. I'm muting. Thank you.
The second we open back up, we're planning on from the second the building opens, we're going to have walk-ins be able to come in and test out and get back on payroll for the summer.
So now, Brent, when I was in high school, which, you know, is surprisingly not that long ago, at Henniger, one of the outreach things that was done was, you know, in the school itself, you know, when we'd have to take an aquatics course or whatever, you know, there'd be somebody that would sort of reach out or from the school that would talk to us about, you know, if you were, you know, certified or if you wanted to get certified, you could do it with one of the classes that were offered, you know, after school or during the summer before the pools opened up. Is that something we still do or
Yep.
not as much, do you know?
Yeah, I was in actually talked with Ed, and he was planning on bringing his classes down to do a screening, and, well, that date is passed by now already, but we do talk to those guys, and once they certify a class, they send them down. But if they talk to us, we pick a date that they can send their whole class down and all test out for us and then get them going. Breaking up a little bit.
Okay. Any other counselors have any questions?
I do, Counselor. I want to go back to what Julie said. You said that it was the raises with the staff and the lifeguards. So question, doesn't the council raise the rates for the lifeguards?
No, so I was saying the rates of pay for our minimum wage staff.
Thank you.
Okay, because you did mention lifeguards, so I was just curious to know because last I knew, we were the ones that changed the rates for the lifeguards.
So I will defer to somebody else actually for that one because I wasn't aware of that. For the last 3 years, we have had to incrementally push up some of the lifeguards because otherwise they would be making the same. The supervisory lifeguards would be making the same as the minimum wage ones. So if that was a process, I wasn't aware of that process. I guess Anne Marie, are you aware of that?
Counselor Hudson, I don't believe we've ever done that in the past.
Yes, we have.
To my knowledge, since I've been doing the budget with parks, we've never gone to council to ask for an increase in wages for the lifeguards or any of our part-time staff.
To clarify, that's probably because you guys haven't, but previous commissioners have. All raises to lifeguards were passed by the council.
So we can absolutely start doing that. We can get you for that for this summer. Now, is it just for lifeguards? Because we hire supervisory staff in our golf courses and our ice rinks.
It was for the lifeguards, Julie, because we did that to try to bring them more on par with the county. That's why I know we were the ones that did the raises.
Okay.
I'm sorry, was that for the full-time lifeguards that we came to council for, or our part-time lifeguards? Because we do have 5 positions that are full-time that we might have gone to you guys to ask about, and they're a set rate right now, and those would have to probably come to you, I'm not sure.
We can,
Council, this is Deputy Mayor Owens. Let us get back around the table and figure out what we need to do. Okay.
yep, we can get that information and figure it out, yes.
I have a question if there's,
I'm done.
okay. So it seems like a little over a month ago, the world changed and a lot of stuff shut down and we're still shut down. And I know we're only officially shut down until May 15th, but it seems like summer is going to be different. So what kind of contingencies do we have if all traditional programming can't go forward to minimize like our losses, so to speak, to have we been thinking about what might happen and what summer might actually look like given the situation? Like, are the pools going to be open? You know, are the will the camps actually happen?
So I can tell you that, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Was there more?
No, go, that's basically it. What are you, because your department seems more at, like,
Yep.
at
So
risk.
we have, between Jimmy and I, we both, separately and together, have been communicating very, very frequently with our staff, talking about the very different options that we have to consider for the summer. I can tell you that, for instance, our aquatic staff last week attended a national seminar, or a webinar, not seminar, webinar, to discuss nationwide, because this is obviously a nationwide issue. I mean, New York City has already decided to close their pools for the summer. Whereas in other places, and Brent, you know, if they have questions, you can chime in here, but there's talk about, you know, social distancing people in pools, or only allowing half of the people in there. I think right now there's too many variables for us to carve out the exact path of what this summer will look like. But we're looking at options of virtual summer camps, virtual programming. I know that's not as popular, but it's something. I myself am attending a webinar that's called Planning for the Summer in Our Parks, which is, again, a nationwide thing. We're taking this day by day. We are looking at our options. We're also talking often with our partners. You may know that a lot of our summer camps in the summertime are based out of a partner, so Camp Hoover or the Everson. So we're talking with them to see what their focus and how their focus is changing. We did put a pause on all of our summer programming just because we didn't know. And I've also told our aquatic staff right now that, unfortunately, swim lessons as a whole are going to have to be secondary to hiring staff. And if we need to have more lifeguard certification courses, because if you don't have lifeguards, then we can't even open pools. So our focus is changing based on the longer this goes, and just every new CDC recommendation that comes out and every new directive that comes from the governor and the mayor. It changes day by day, but I can tell you that we're staying on top of it, and we're not waiting until the last minute to come up with plans. My staff is writing plans right now.
Also, Councilor Rudd and Councilman, we've at the administrative level have been talking about where we're going with the summer. Obviously, we have seasonal workers, not just with parks, but other departments. We've decided that we're going to go forward as if we're going to be fully operational. DPW seasonal workers would seem more essential, no disrespect to parks, but to go forward on our hiring process with a clear contingency in any offer that it's contingent upon public, where the state and the county executive orders are going.
Okay. I understand we have to wait for everything to come down, but it does seem like I can't quite imagine summer being anything close to normal. But I agree that parks is different than DPW and all that. So sounds good. Just keep us posted as much as possible.
Also, I have asked the county to I've asked them what their parks plans are countywide, and so I've been assured that Dr. Gupta is in regular communication with the State Department to bring this up to the level of a discussion around what are we going to do, what is the trend, and what do they anticipate around parks.
So if I'm to understand this correctly, Deputy Mayor, I just want to make sure, clarify, I understood that. So we are moving forward with interviewing, potentially getting hires that will be hired if things move forward, but they're being told that they will not be hired should we decide to cancel all our summer programming. Is that correct?
Yes, our typical hiring would start now. So in order, if things, I hope they do, but if, I don't know if they will come back to anywhere near normal, we need to be ready. So in order to be ready, we would have to start hiring now. And we can't delay much longer. And so we've made the decision to go ahead with those processes with the clear contingency upon the public health executive orders.
I think there's, just thinking out loud, that there's probably a need. I think we should dramatically change. I think we should almost like assume the status quo is not going to happen, because like the coronavirus isn't going to go away, and they basically say it's here until we get a vaccine or until we almost a critical mass of us get it. So
Right.
It seems like we need COVID-safe programs or options. Like, and I can imagine different problems leading to different solutions. Like we had a hearing the other day with codes, and their grass cutting contract seemed like, and grass cutting may not be the thing we could have young people do because of the liability and all sorts of stuff. But maybe there's ways we can like decentralize some of the programming and spend the money in smaller groups that still makes investments in neighborhoods and our like community, but it has to be like non-traditional. It seems like there's almost like a need to have acknowledge summer is going to be different, and what are the ways we could create safe environments other than just like putting the traditional thing online, which I think is like not maybe the optimal strategy. But
well, I absolutely agree that online is not the end all be all, because a lot of people either aren't on there or aren't checking it, and that's not their priority. I agree that we need to refocus, because in the summertime, if you think about it, we have pretty much two main focus areas when it comes to recreation. Our community centers, our drop-in community centers, and then we have our camps where we bus people away. And, you know, we're probably not going to be busing kids away, but, you know, we have a mobile rec. So maybe we need to focus more with packing in our vans and going to the communities and going to the neighborhoods on a set schedule, or even by reservation. I don't know whether there'd be a fee for it, but I mean, I agree. All
like
of our
mobile
staff,
rec. It sounds so absurd to me that we would have mobile rec this summer when we don't even have rims on the basketball hoops right now.
well,
like
recreation comes in many forms, though. It's not just basketball. But I mean, I hear what you're saying. I mean, we don't know what it's going to look like. I mean, in June or July, maybe things will be a little bit safer, not back to normal. But I don't have all the answers, but I just know that all of our staff are looking at this creatively and researching our options.
Okay.
And whatever that is, we're going to need some staff, so that's why we're doing the contingent hiring process.
So, Deputy Mayor, I'm in agreement with Councilor Rudd, is that I think the prospects of having a regular Parks and Recreation summer are pretty bleak. So I won't posit the question concerning security at the city pools, and I'll save that for next year, I guess. Because last year, in my opinion, we need a police officer at every single pool, and the city's going to pick it up, whether it comes out of the Parks Department budget or the Police Department budget. But as you well know, I received, and I wasn't even in office, I received
That's an understatement.
a lot of calls about that. So, you know, I don't think we should open a pool up in a safe summer without having a police officer there. So, that's my opinion, and I'm sticking to it. So,
well, we've talked about that with the police department, about them picking up more hours recently.
I think every hour that pool is open, there should be a police officer there. That's just my opinion. So.
Yep. You know, last year, last season, pre-COVID, we talked about, and we looked at, you know, the capacity of the police department and how we could do that, and if that was feasible or not, and we entertained whether or not we should have every pool open every day, and whether we alternate those hours.
I'm kind of on the line as well with Council Rudd that this summer is not gonna, as far as service provision, not gonna be like any other summer. But the reality of the matter is, it's gonna be hot. The school is gonna be out. Possibly, I don't see them being, any kind of even summer school. I don't know. But we're going to have kids that are going to need some kind of recreation of some sort.
Yeah, and Deputy Mayor, I got complete faith in the commissioner, the deputy commissioner, and the staff she's got over the Parks and Recreation that they'll come up with something that, some sort of recreation for the children of the community that might be, this could be an opportunity, a creative opportunity maybe. And, I'm sure I'll help out in any way I can, being an old Parks guy, but I have a feeling that we'll look at this as maybe a creative opportunity to have some sort of recreation going on.
Just one last comment, just to push the envelope a little further even, is I think we have to have on the table as an option that we simply do less. Like, we know we're going to have a lot less revenue come in, and we don't know that we're going to be made whole. Like, I think instead of saying, how can we spend our traditional money non-traditionally, that can be an option that we consider, but I think we also have to have on the table what's the maximum we can rein in our spending while given the, constraints that we have.
I agree, Councilor Rudd. Excellent point.
And we agree with that as well. This is Jimmy Oliver, Deputy Commissioner of Parks. We've been having conversations with our staff and with our team about, what can you run a program at the minimum? Because things may change. We may have to tighten our belts up. We may have to have less staff. We may have to have less programming. And so our team has been working, especially our recreation team and aquatics team, been working on those plans, on looking at ways they can cut costs, how to be more intentional, how to be more constructive with our time and with our staff use. So they have that, to Councilman Rudd's point. They have been looking at those things. We've been discussing those things, not just during this time, but Julie and I have been talking about that a year ago, and just trying to prepare folks just in case something like this does happen. What is our alternative, and what can we do with less? And so those have been our orders for all of them to look at. So they are looking at those things. And as regards to the pool safety and the police, the aquatics team, myself and Julie met with them back in, I think it was November or December, just to get a jump start, because we knew the difficulties that we had at the pools. And so we met with Deputy Chief Shaw, Deputy Chief Frudell, yes, to try to come up with how can we I think at the time we came up with 4 or 5 pools that we would focus on, that we felt like there was a need for police to be there. And then Brent and his team came up, hey, with the pandemic going on, how about we pick a pool on each side of town to open instead of opening all of our pools? So those conversations.
Commissioner, I'm not to interrupt you, but can I ask you a question as you're talking about this? I'm listening. So you do know that on the council, every councilor chairs a committee, correct? So when you guys are having all of these discussions, is the counselor of the chair and the committees, are they brought into the loop? Because we get the calls as well. And once you put something together, we're the ones that get bombarded with it. So is that chair?
Before he responds, Council President, I want to remind you guys that we have another budget hearing in 1 minute, and I believe it's a different link.
Oh,
okay.
So just wanted to throw that out there.
Okay, thank you. But I just was curious to know when things are being implemented, being that we're going to be the ones bombarded with the calls, are these chairs aware of the different stages?
So I will just say that thank you, that point is taken, and I apologize for that. This conversation happened in November in anticipation of 6 months later. So we didn't get to that point, but point taken, and we absolutely will make sure that we are reaching out to Councilor Carney and then in the police, which is Councilor Majoke and anybody else that's associated. So I apologize for that.
Thank you. So I guess we have another meeting to get to. I'm sorry, Councilor Connie, this is your meeting.
No, that's fine. Yep. So, all right, I don't think there's any more questions. I think we're all set, right?
Okay. Thank you.
All right, Commissioner, thank you.
Thank you.
Yep, thanks. Bye.
So I see I have Counselor Hogan and Counselor Majoke. I see who else is on here.
Councilor Carney's here. Sorry, my meeting ran a little bit long.
Okay, it's okay. Counselor Rudd and who else? I'm using my phone, so I can't see everybody.
Counselor Driscoll's here as well.
Green as well.
Bay as well.
President Hudson, are you here?
Yes, ma'am, I am.
Okay, and I see Counselor Paniagua. So we'll go ahead and get started. Michael, do you want to walk us through your presentation that you had?
Sure. So Michael Collins, Commissioner of Neighborhood and Business Development. I first of all just want to start with congratulations to Councilor Green. That's fantastic news. Absolutely happy for you.
Thank you.
And as a parent of daughters, I echo President Hudson's comment from earlier about daughters being awesome and being the best. But we'll jump into this right here. So in respect to time, I'm not going to go through every single thing that we've got on here, but I will go through the highlight of the highlights. And so to start with, we've got the accomplishments for our new programming and grant revenue. We've got the 2 grants from the AG's office, the City's Rise grant, that I know you're all aware of, where we were awarded nearly $1 million for code enforcement compliance strategies, and the Zombies 2.0 grant, which was about $370,000 for blight busting. For the Resurgence Neighborhood Initiative, we were able to complete the first round of resident outreach, where we did talk with about 800 residents through about 60 different conversations. And then the completion of the study of the 9 different neighborhood business corridors and Syracuse's central corridor to look at the underserved markets. Census outreach, we're happy with the fact that outreach for this has been allowed to be extended due to the virus, but we've been awarded $45,000, partnered with Community Foundation on getting that money out. Tori Russo has done a fantastic job of making sure that we're doing outreach. And at the moment, they've just completed a training of doing phone banking with 20 different volunteers that she's got. On the business and economic development side, SEDCO, there's the 4 traditional loans that have been issued to date within this fiscal year, about $290,000. That's brought in nearly $1.5 million in what it's leveraged. And the COVID relief loan program, as I think many of you know, is the first like it in the state. Has been copied by several other municipalities, but 29 businesses were funded through that. And almost $500,000 that have gone out to support those businesses. Site has got 6 abated projects that have closed to date, with $50 million in total investments on that. And NYSERDA, we became the first large upstate city to open the PACE-C financing for environmental efficiency upgrades to commercial properties. The Hotel Syracuse expansion is a perfect example of that one right there. For city-controlled properties, the Syracuse Development Center has been seized and stabilized. Our partner, we've contracted with Pyramid Brokers on that. They're working with us for an RFP to get that property redeveloped appropriately and make that property useful again, which we're all excited about. And then the brownfield foreclosure process has been enacted in partnership with the DC and the land bank. That's letting us make sure that we can grab control of the properties, but not be liable for the brownfield abatement. And then with the continued investment of the urban core, you've got this nearly $7 million that we've invested in the north side and downtown through the Restore You New York rounds 4 and 5. That's leveraged another $50 million plus. Under neighborhood stability and quality of life, for housing production, this is where our so much of this is where our grant money goes out to our partners. So we got 16 new construction homes that were built during the fiscal year for first-time home buyers. Every dollar that came out of NBD leveraged over $4 more, which is really, really important. We've got several new construction projects underway, including for a lease purchase program with our partner Home Headquarters, and then the two really significant projects that you're aware of from the rental projects, which is the YMCA Men's Residence and the St. Anthony's project. Blight busting, what a wonderful success this has been. If you look at over the last 5 years, we've got a 28% decline in residential vacant structures. And as much as we're happy with the 16 completed projects and the 3 that are awarded, the fact that we have this tool has meant that we've got over 70 properties that have come into compliance without us having to put money into it. And that's just made a really, really big difference in the neighborhoods with those properties. Eviction prevention, that data is incomplete right now. So we've got a partner that we're still waiting on some data from. So when we say 31 evictions saving over $71,000 of rental money, that's part of the picture. From the work I've been doing for the last 10 years, I can tell you, as many of you know, when you get evicted, you don't just lose your house, you lose all of your personal possessions. So we've got 31 households that we have prevented the absolute worst from happening, and it's a really good model that we've got for how we can help people going forward with what this current crisis is going to do to housing stability. So in the interest of time, I'm going to skip through a couple things right here, but I will say that what we've done to make sure that people get housed and get housed permanently has, with our dollars, has been highly, highly productive. And we've completed the 5-year consolidated plan. A note for you, we have not submitted it yet because it looks as if that may be the right vehicle for us to submit a plan for what we're going to do with the CDBG COVID dollars. That detail is still coming out, but there's been a long extension on it. So we're moving quickly.
Would
Yeah,
you
go ahead.
Would you be able to share with us some of the agencies that would be on the receiving end for these funds, especially when you talk about to prevent homelessness? Which agencies are we sending the funding to, and how are they going to implement it to get it out to the people that actually need it? When
we've got that, we will absolutely talk with you about it. What I can tell you is that at the moment, the team's been meeting regularly on it. And we know that the focus is that we want as much of this funding as possible to go towards housing stability. But we have not identified yet exactly which programs are going to be currently have the capacity to do what we want to do with it yet. But we've talked on that last week. We've talked on it this week. We're talking on it again later this week. So we'll absolutely keep you in the loop. I continue.
When you say avoid tenant eviction, what sort of things are you thinking? For instance, I have a tenant right now who both people in the household lost their jobs, but they're sort of like what's called traditional low end working poor. So they like bounce around from jobs, so they don't think they qualify for unemployment, but because whatever reason. But are there ways we can help ensure people who are, like, if you go to the employment website and you get bounced out and they say, oh, you do something, you don't qualify, but really they probably should qualify. Like, are we doing this to help people reach the resources that they, in my opinion, should be eligible for? Because it seems like we could leverage that a lot more than we could leverage here's money to avoid your eviction. Rather, it should be like, here's how you connect to the resources that are supposed to be there at the federal level to get the money you need to be able to do all the things you need.
So
I guess I'm saying eviction might be fundamentally different in 2020 than it was in 2019.
Oh, it is. Absolutely. And you're getting to the crux of why we have, we're not at a point where we can say, hey, this, these two programs that exist right now or where we want to put all the money. We suspect that the money that we've got is a drop in the bucket for what the size of the problem is. And so we want to do a couple things. One is, how do we make sure that the money that we do have control over is able to leverage other dollars? The other is, how do we make sure that it is highly effective? And by that, what we mean is that they're not just in the house for the next month, but that they're able to, that the money that we put in is actually a truly stabilizing force. One of the ways that we look at that is using our partner, the FEC. If we're able to make sure that someone who's receiving our funding is also receiving high quality assistance and making sure that they can handle the financial situation that they've got going forward, then that's a tool at our disposal. So yeah, this is a complicated issue.
If I could just say one last thing,
Definitely.
and then I'll shut up. But similar to the parks hearing, where the suggestion was made that they evaluate just not spending the money versus like making these new investments, I think we have to consider what are the ways we could help people, but also compare that to what are like the use. Are there ways that we can just simply take that housing money and spend it on things that we would have traditionally paid for with the general fund in order to minimize our own spending? So I think every proposal has to be like somehow exceeding us substituting for expenses that we would have already done in order to minimize our own spending to ensure our own financial health.
Yeah, understood. And so what we plan with this, so there's a tick under $3 million for the CDBG COVID funds coming in, and we've got 20% of that, so 600,000 comes off as admin. We've got another about 400,000 that's direct going into programs that's housing related. We've talked about the fact that the housing inspectors is a big part of it. And then we're really looking at how do we use the rest of it to make sure that people are able to stay in their homes, because the most cost-effective way to deal with a housing issue is to prevent it from happening.
Even when you say the admin, does that mean the people who are on the general fund, their salaries can get paid by that $600,000 this year, or like what is the admin going toward?
Yeah.
Deputy Mayor, were you looking to step in on that, or you want me to answer that?
Yeah. So admin, just as the typical CDBG pays for staff, the admin can pay for a portion of the code expense, particularly the inspectors, to use it there first. Mike and I are absolutely on the same page that the scenario we would like to see in normal circumstances would as much of this money go to assisting people. In this particular circumstance, we do see the viability of being able to use it for housing inspectors to be able to use it for housing quality purposes. Again, one time, we're going to have to identify these positions in our next budget after this one. And then we're hopeful, crossing our fingers, that we're going to get another round of HUD-related COVID funding to be able to further send into communities for assistance to people. We want to be able to help people. The reality on the ground right now is that people that were expecting checks are not getting them in a timely manner. It is affecting their ability to stay. We don't know how long this housing non-eviction moratorium is going to continue past where we are now. That's a huge concern we have right now about people's housing stability. I don't know if I answered your question, Kim.
And see, Sharon, I would rather see the funds go towards something like that, because from my understanding, the funds they're supposed to be used to either prevent, prepare, or respond to the pandemic. So I don't want us to use the funds for something that we would have already spent money on. And then if the people that actually need the funds don't get it.
Right, we did get instruction that gave us some flexibility in how the funds can be used. You know, we're the rules are basically the same. We're going to get the admin, so we're going to start there, and then move from there. But the bottom line is that the dollar amount that we talked about in, I forgot what other budget hearing that was, that is going to be taken out. The plan was for it to be taken out of this first round. But I hear you, Councilor Allen.
And then, like, what would be, and that's what I was kind of asking, like, even with Michael, like, what would be, so if I'm an individual and I can't pay my rent, but I know that there's funding available for me because I see it on the news, I read it in the newspaper, like, how do I know where to go to get this funding from? I know that the city of Syracuse has funding available, but how do I know where to get it from? When can I get it? When can I pay my bills? Like, how are we going to roll that out?
Yep, that's the devil that's in the details about the actual process that we want to make sure we have ironclad. I'm very hesitant to sign over checks to individuals. I don't even believe we can do that through HUD. So there are mechanisms for rent-based subsidies, whether the person is receiving money from some other DSS, are they eligible, first of all, in that area? So that's one way we want to make sure people are using systems that are set up already. The other thing that I said when we look at this is that while I don't want to, there's a huge need and always a limited pot. So we're also thinking about the process of, do we prioritize, low-income working families that need to, they haven't gotten their unemployment, they haven't gotten their stimulus check. What criteria do we set to prioritize who would be available? So those are what Mike was talking about, what agencies, what the process is going to be. And thankfully, HUD is giving us enough time to put that together, because I see that ball dropping as we get into the summer if people haven't gotten those unemployment checks and those stimulus checks yet.
So
and if the moratorium isn't extended.
Right. So do we have a time frame? Like, what do you guys, I mean, I know you can't suggest a time frame if you're waiting on HUD, but did you guys discuss, like, around the timing you can start to implement something?
So yeah, we're working on that now. HUD has got the details coming. HUD's been pretty good about communication, to be honest with you. They've got the details coming out to us as they finalize them, and we have not been waiting on that. What we've done is started our own internal conversations around what capacity is currently existing within our funded agencies. What does that capacity look like, and where does that match up with where we think that we can have the most long-term effect? For instance, what you see out of what somebody can receive through ESG is different than what they can receive through CDBG. So ESG is going to be restricted to very low income. You can go to low income with CDBG. And so we're trying to make sure that the tools that we've got are lined up so that we can hit the most number of people and do it with the greatest amount of effect. And, that's something that, it's the whole idea of, be quick, but don't hurry. We're not trying to rush it. We're trying to make sure we got it right, but we're being exceptionally time sensitive with it.
Also, LaToya, Mike and I are on a conference call, what's today? Tomorrow morning with a group of housing advocates to kind of get our heads around exactly what the need is on the ground.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Yep. So, look, in the interest of time, I'm just going to say you can read what you got in front of you. I do want to highlight that for our minority affairs, that we've added some goals here for professional service and contracts for service-disabled veterans, which I think is huge. We've done really well with the goals that we've got right there. The Financial Empowerment Center we touched on. But they've seen a 20% increase just in the past month, and they're looking at expanding capacity at no cost to ourselves, which is huge. And for this year, we've talked about infill and housing redevelopment. We do expect that we'll be able to complete the first 5 single-family homeowner projects in the calendar year. Still really working to nail down exactly where they're going to be, and I would say that on the rental side, we're a bit farther behind because there's a funding gap there that we got to figure out. On the economic development side, the brownfield stuff has been will be huge, but when you look at the large scale private investments, we've got over $70 million between 3 projects with Bankers Healthcare Group, JMA, and United Auto Supply, and that's nearly 400 jobs right there. And then just to skip down a little bit, JSCB Construction site is moving forward to approve the next round of $100 million worth of bonding. So I blew through that because you got it in front of you, but I wanted to leave time for other questions and also specific to the numbers.
Councilor Allen, can I ask Michael Collins a question?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Michael, you said for professional services.
Mm-hmm.
So help me understand, because I have been working with Deputy Mayor Owens and administration to change the language. So is there a language change in professional services to ensure minority compliance?
So great question. I believe Lamont is on this call. Lamont, if you're there, you want to take that?
I think it's deeper than Lamont, though, because this needs to be changed across the board.
Helen, I couldn't.
Yes?
Can you hear me? Oh, okay.
Yep.
I'm sorry. I'm looking at the budget, so I just want to make sure. So professional services.
Michael talked about the minority end of it and trying to ramp it
Yeah.
up. I just want to know if we had changed the language, because across the board in all the departments, we're always, that's where the problem lies with professional services. There's no EEO, MWBE in the language. And remember, we talked about the language change.
So I will back check on that, Council President, because absolutely every contract with the city of Syracuse now has EEO, but let me double check that.
Yeah, we'll get on that and let you know.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay. Any other questions?
So Alan is Joel. Can I ask a question?
Yes, you can.
Commissioner Collins, it's Joel. I want to thank you for your presentation. You said something about preventing 31 individuals from being evicted. Did I hear that correctly?
Yes, Councilor, that's correct. So this is a program where we do we provide the funding so that very early intervention when someone's behind on rent can happen. So when someone with a partner housing departments that we do this, housing agencies we do this with, if once you're 5 days behind on rent, you get contacted so that they can start to work it out with you before you get too far down the line. And that's had a very positive, significant impact in people retaining their housing.
Okay. Now, was that post COVID, or was it prior to COVID?
No, that's prior to COVID. This was a project that was, if I recall, was first started piloted with a housing authority. I believe we've also done it over at Clinton Plaza, and where we've been able to fund having a counselor that works right with those tenants. And so when the property manager notices that someone's missed a rent payment, we get with them immediately.
Okay, all right. Thank you. The other question I have is in regards to the grant that the Attorney General gave to the city. How long was that for? Was that just for 1 year or until whenever it runs out?
Is that for the zombies or the Cities Rise grant?
Go ahead.
So the Cities Rise has to do with the improved code enforcement compliance, and the zombies has to do with addressing blight.
Is that just for 1 year, or is that until whenever we can use it?
If Michelle, are you on this call? Michelle may know on that one. If not,
Yeah,
I'm going to get it.
it's a 2-year program for both of them.
Perfect.
Say that, I didn't hear that, sorry.
It's a
2 years.
2-year program for both of them.
Oh, 2 years program, okay. All right, Councilor Allen, that's it for me.
I have another one if there's.
Councilor Allen, could I jump in before Councilor Rudd?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
You're a good man, Councilor Rudd. God bless you. Thank you, Councilor Allen. So
You're
I would,
welcome.
so Michael, I mean, you run a whole, a gamut of different departments and everything else, and sometimes I just wondered about the focus. Would you say that your focus is still basically on housing in as much as creating new neighborhoods like we're trying to do with the infill project? And I look forward to you being in charge along with the council and all the other people that are going to play into this, because I see this as a template to revitalize that those inner circle neighborhoods around downtown. I mean, the strategy all set, you've got it all together, you think, or what?
Well, great question, Councilor Hogan. As you know, the team that Commissioner Pasquale left me with is second to none, and so we've got an amazing group, and that has fairly clear direction with what the mayor's outlined and what he values. And you think about the fact that the mayor and deputy mayor have been deputy commissioners within this department. There's an understanding of all of the strengths that we've got here and what we can do with it. So on the housing side, I think that we've got a lot to continue to build on. So many of the neighborhoods that I go through now in every part of the city look better than they did just a few years ago. When you look at what we've done on addressing blight on one end, and then also building new on the other. So absolutely, we want to continue with that, and that's where I plan to continue with it. On the business side, I think that there's so much continue to do there, and you've got the immediate stuff. I'm deeply impressed with the speed at which SEDCO moved with the loan program. But on the housing side, we're gonna continue on the path we've been.
Yeah, I'm just I think housing is is something that we probably neglected for a couple of decades there before the current administration, and I just think it's a big focus in how we bring back the city. And as long as we work with and we have some great housing partners to work with, so I wish you all the luck. And as far as the Syracuse Developmental Center, I'm pretty sure myself and Eric are going to take care of that, and we're going to end up having something great coming up there, right, Eric?
I believe Eric said you guys are going to wrap that up next week, if I recall.
Yeah, we got it all planned. You don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, thank you.
I think that might actually be a decent segue to what I was going to ask. Because I don't know where asset sales into this, but I know Eric's been working on it. I know people are there, but I don't think we're counting any money for asset sales. And it seems like we have a bunch of idle assets that don't pay any taxes that we don't do anything with, that I thought we should have been selling the last couple of years, and now we probably have even more of a case. So why can't we put $1 million in a revenue thing for selling some assets for this year?
Councilor, this is Sharon. It's absolutely in our purview. Looking at our inventory more than ever now, there's the case for looking at that inventory and putting a plan together to move forward. The developmental center is actually giving us a good template for how we should be moving forward on our assets. What we're trying to get a handle on now, and there's no predictive model to it right now, but we're trying to get a handle on what is the real estate landscape going to look like in 3 months, 4 months from now, even into next year, and how hungry are people going to be for our assets. But we definitely see the merit of doing that, no doubt.
Is underway for the SDC building. Was there, like, are there any rumblings of what it could be or what you guys would want it to be so far?
That's a good question, and I don't have information on that yet, simply because we don't have the RFP finalized yet as to what that could look like. Eric, if you're on,
doing some preliminary work with a broker.
Eric, do you want to talk about that?
Sure. Thank you, Councilors. Eric Dennis on the business development side. We have been engaging the community on the west side as a whole. I know Councilor Hogan has joined me for meetings with neighbors of the property. So we have been really getting a good gauge of what the potential vision for that site could look like. We've been hearing a lot from the community. They're very open-minded. I think there's some maybe very explicit uses they don't want to see there, but we've been assessing, the property in and of itself. Does that building stay in its current condition from a site plan layout? Do you have the opportunity to potentially just start as a blank canvas by demolishing what's there? I think that we're very open-minded from the administration's perspective, and then as we talk to the development community, we want them to realize that there's a lot of potential with the site, given the land, given the acreage, and not to just be confined by the walls and the structure that's there. But that being said, the community has been engaged over the last several months since we've successfully foreclosed, and they've echoed their appreciation for even what's been done so far between codes and our other staff that have been stabilizing that building compared to what it was 6 months ago.
Thank you.
Councilor Allen, I got one more.
Yep, go ahead.
So, Commissioner Collin, you talked about the infill that you're going to do 5 of them this year. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
So a partner on that is Home Headquarters, and that's going to be a project where the prospective buyers are people that are coming out of their program, which has done an excellent job of and just got a years-long track record of making sure that people are ready to not just ready to own a home now, but successful in maintaining that home and being able to make sure that they're financially stable. So at the moment, we've identified all the funding that we need and to be able to do 5 and get them done within this calendar year. But we certainly want to do more. That's what we know we can commit to at the moment.
Now, just and I might be off on this one. Now, this is not related to what the initiative that the mayor put forward and the initiative that Councilor Bay been pushing for years, and Madam President as well, and the other council. So
Councilor, this is part of the infill strategy, yes. So and our partner that we've been working with on the rental side is Housing Visions. On the home ownership side on this right here is Home Headquarters. Home Headquarters is a lot closer to being ready to proceed than Housing Visions is at the moment when we look at the financing side of it.
And okay, thank you. And this question, maybe I'm just a little bit behind. Where is the application that we approved that was supposed to go through for more grant and funding?
So we're waiting to hear back from the Affordable Housing Corporation, AHC. That application's been submitted. We've been notified that it's been received and is under review. We just haven't had word back yet.
Councilor Majo, that situation in and of itself is why we wanted to try to implement a plan B to be able to move on something, because there's just so much uncertainty about when that money is going to be available. If we're right.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I'm done.
Okay, I just wanted to see if they were somewhat related. Now with the Commissioner Collin, I'm going on to another one. With the money from HUD that you talked about, that there's about $600,000 that are going to the staff for admin purposes. Now, are you going to create new position, or are you going to use the already existing position and pay and support them through that money?
So when you look at what we are planning to do right now on the city side, there's two new positions, which are the housing inspectors with a lead due to the lead program that we're going to start this year with the new ordinance. Those are new; those have been planned for all along. And then we believe that temporarily for this 1 year, we'd be able to also pay for 3 housing inspector positions, just to take a little bit of relief off of the city budget, considering that just the deficit that we're looking at right now. So there's a few other places that we talked about it, but that's from the position side within NBD related stuff. That's where that is.
So five position total. The 2 new one you're going to create.
Well, there's actually a 6th. There's a position within API that does the GPS tracking. That is one that would be appropriate to fund out of the admin.
Okay. Councilor Allen, that's it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions? Okay. Commissioner Collins, did you have anything else you wanted to add relative to the budget?
The only thing I just wanted to wrap up with was shout out to my entire team that's been looking at how do we make sure that we're prepared for the upcoming year while also handling the immediate. And I know every commissioner out there is going to be super proud of their team, but the people that we've got working on everything that I've been able to speak to today, second to none. Absolutely amazing. So I just want to recognize them for their hard work, and I appreciate the partnership with you all and on how we move forward with this.
Okay. All right, and so if we don't have any further questions from my colleagues, then call this meeting done.
Thank you, Counselor.
You're welcome.
Thank you, everybody.
Have a good day.
All right, so we're all set.
Great. Thank you.